raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Please state your name and address, sir.
My name is Greg Henson. I live in the Roebuck community of South Carolina. I'm really representing our family business. The address of that business is 8499 Valley Falls Road in Boiling Springs. We manage approximately 800 rental properties, and I interact with Duke Energy nearly on a daily basis. If my experiences with Duke Energy were similar to a restaurant or a mechanic shop or any of the other places that you all would go to do business, that you had a choice of whether you would or not do business with that company, I would not do business with Duke Energy. But I'm trapped. Like many of the people that have been here tonight, we're trapped. I've had to contact the regulatory staff on numerous occasions where we were wronged by Duke Energy. The folks that answer the phone are merely able, and I want to look at these folks back here in the back that work for Duke Energy that are supposedly making notes. They can only fill in blanks on a computer. They don't know what a meter is. They don't know what a ground wire is. They understand nothing about the power structure or any of the simple things that people are trying to talk to them about. And then when they don't understand and your problem doesn't fit into their little box, and you ask to speak to a supervisor, you hold and hold. Just this week, I held for 46 minutes to get power turned on at a vacant rental property. My wife had called 2 hours earlier, got power turned on at 2 properties, because we had a final bill of $46 that was not past due, but they wanted the money so that they would turn on this account. I have had thousands of accounts with Duke Energy and an impeccable payment history, to be treated like a dog. This is a corrupt group of people, a very corrupt group of people. And if you all vote to allow this rate increase, I know that this is going to come off really harsh. You've gotten in bed with them. You have gotten in bed with them. This is not right. I could pay the increase, but a lot of the folks cannot. And it just seems like that there's no choice. I can foresee that this will happen. I've been around long enough. I can see that this will happen. But I want it to weigh on your conscience if you allow it to happen. Because just like the lady said about people freezing to death, that's a real reality too. And I do want to thank you all for coming here tonight, and I know it's very late.
Thank you, Mr. Henson. Any questions?
Chairman, I got one quick one from Mr. Henson. Mr. Henson, you've heard commissioners can't talk to the utility directly, and we're a separate agency from the Office of Regulatory Staff, but you mentioned that you had contacted South Carolina Office of Regulatory Staff. Have they been able to resolve some of your problems that you just described with Duke Energy?
Commissioner Whitfield, they were excellent to deal with. They were honestly, if it were not for them, I would not have been able to get the issues resolved. And honestly, I could not have been able to conduct our business because we were denied the ability to turn power on because of a stolen power meter that we reported to Energy Protection. It got moved about, I don't know, somewhere close by, and the transmission was still sending a signal. They put a new power meter in that the technician didn't plug in all the way, and we were hit for about $900 worth of stolen power. Again, the regulatory staff was wonderful. Within probably 48 hours of my contact with them, the problem was resolved. But we shouldn't have to resort to those things to get these problems resolved.
Well, sir, you've got Director Edwards here tonight and other leaders from ORS. So,
I've got pretty good contacts over there so far.
Sounds like you do, and I'm glad to hear that you have reached out to our sister state agency.
Mr. Chairman, one quick question. So,
Has the service improved since you reached out to ORS?
With Duke Energy?
Yes.
No, it's gotten worse. We get hit with North Carolina has a higher connection fee than South Carolina. And oftentimes I get hit with this higher connection fee because my office is in Boiling Springs, South Carolina. And when I call and I give them our address, our billing address, Boiling Springs, North Carolina pops up into their system first. When I call for energy, I could fill in the blank on that computer screen by just telling them what goes in the blank without them asking. I do this many, many times a week. And so I'm constantly having to get them to read this information back to me so that it's correct, so that I get my bill correct. But they try to invoice us for connection fees that are really for North Carolina and not for South Carolina. But the worst is when they deny me power because I owe a bill that I'm not past due on, but they just have this protocol of demanding money. And I'm telling you, it's illegal. It is illegal.
I would ask you, if you would, going forward, you may already be doing this, but if you're not, keep good records. Keep a logbook every time you call them, put the date and time. And
I do now.
Those 47-minute calls.
I do now.
Document it. And the more documentation you have, the better they'll be able to help you, ORS. And in turn, we'll hear about it later.
And I know that my time is up, and I know that these folks have got other matters. But one of the other issues that I've got is that for property managers, there's a portal system. And the portal system requires, Duke Energy requires you to be on a revert to owner program. Well, any property manager in South Carolina will tell you that if you have a tenant in the property and for some reason power gets put into the landlord's name, the landlord cannot cut that power off. If so, I would lose in court every single time and the judge would treat me miserably. And so the revert to owner requirement in order to set up a portal is wrong for South Carolina. It doesn't comply with the South Carolina Landlord Tenant Act. And I've tried many years to talk to the folks with Duke Energy only to get smoke blown up my rear about, oh yeah, we'll talk about that and get back with you and things like that, but that never happens. It just seems wrong that we're forced into, I don't participate in it, that landlords are being forced into something that puts them into legal trouble.
I didn't know if that was a requirement of all landlords or not.
It's not a requirement. In order to use a portal where I could go in with the computer and apply for power, disconnect power without having to talk to these nimwits that can only put things into a box, then I have to use the revert to owner. It's a requirement of them.
Thank you.
For landlords.
Well, we'll look into it. I appreciate you sharing that.
Okay, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Henson.
And Madam, thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
All right. Malik Fareed. Malik Fareed. Thomas Ringer.
Mr. Ray, raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thomas Ringer, 428 Royal Oak Drive, Spartanburg, South Carolina. I'm going to discuss two things, financial and arrogance. I'm going to read right out of this thing I've got here, and I'll be glad to give it to each one of you people. Good is reported, wait a minute. Yeah, Good is reported to have told the news media that if South Carolina Public Service Commission doesn't give Duke what it wants, you hear that? What it wants, then she will get the South Carolina General Assembly to do so. I don't know what we got you guys up there for. Can you explain that? Maybe you guys can. This is ridiculous with arrogance like that. Have you not heard this before?
Where are you reading that from?
Got this letter here from the Greenville News, February 10th, 2019. I'll be glad to give you a copy of it.
Give it to the ORS so she can make copies later.
Who is ORS?
Right here.
Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute. Let me get through one. I think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my dang life. And that's all I can say from that standpoint. And as far as these people getting rate increases, well, North Carolina denies them. I'll read out of this issue here I've got, which is from U.S. News and World Report. North Carolina regulators denied on Friday a request for Duke Energy to raise electric rates, ordered the utility to read $60 million in deferred taxes to customers, and fined it $70 million for the way it handled coal ash. That's two issues right there. Plus, we haven't seen any kind of relief for the taxes that the president put through. Y'all seen anything on that? I don't hear anybody.
It's going to be considered in this upcoming hearing. It'll be one of these.
I doubt it.
Well, it is.
Have you heard them do it? Have you heard anything come forward?
We can't answer your questions.
No, I know y'all can't.
I know, well, we're not allowed to by law.
I know you can't. Here another thing. The commission also ordered $70 million fines not to be passed on to customers. You get that? Because Duke placed its consumers at risk of inadequate or unreasonably expensive services on how it handled the coal ash. How are we going to handle it? I'm listening. Gentlemen, I don't hear anything. The arrogance of this woman telling you basically she don't need y'all because she can go to the General Assembly in Columbia. Don't sit there like that.
Thank you, Mr. Ringer.
No, I don't think it's thank you nothing.
Any questions of Mr. Ringer?
Oh, by the way, one person asked one poor person about why they didn't lease the equipment on the solar deal. Well, it just so happens if you lease it, you don't get investment tax credit. That's the reason they don't do it.